If you are using Codex and constantly repeating the same prompts, you are probably missing the simple one thing: skills MD. A skill MD file is a structured workflow definition. People repeat the same instructions, they rewrite the same prompts, and every time Codex behaves a little differently. If that sounds familiar, this video will save you a lot of wasted time, because the real setup is more specific than most people think. The file is usually called skill.md with capital letters. It lives inside the skill folder, and when it's structured properly, it turns messy repeated prompting into a reusable system. So in the next few minutes, I'll show you what a skill actually is, what goes inside skill.md, and how the folder should be organized, and how to build one with real examples you can actually copy. Here's the real difference. Without a skill, your workflow usually looks like this. Open Codex, write a long prompt, explain your rules, remind it not to break something, don't make any mistakes, remind it use a certain file, use these assets files under assets folder or under resource folder, and remind it how to return the result. So what do we put in skill.md? First, trigger conditions. Which conditions should trigger this skill? And after that, exact workflow steps. What should be done? Then preferred tools or commands, and safety constraints. And the last thing, output format expectations. Let's look at the official OpenAI documentation for skills. I'm not going to read this page line by line. The important thing is here the skill.md structure. A skill is just a folder. Here, optional scripts, optional references, and optional assets, templates, or resources. So it's not just text, it can be a full system. And also this is important. How Codex decides use a skill or not. Codex doesn't load every skill fully. It just reads only metadata, name, description, path, and only if it decides to use the skill, then it loads the full instructions after that. That's how you avoid context overload. And there are two ways a skill can run: explicit and implicit. Explicit, you directly call it, use this skill for coding, or implicit, Codex decides to use it based on your prompt. And that means your description is not just a documentation, it's a trigger condition. Also, you can create a skill in two ways: using the built-in skill creator, and manually writing a YAML file like that, name and description, how to trigger, and where to save skills, repo based, user based, or system level. If we are using a GitHub repository, it stores under agent skills, and for user, system level, bundled with Codex, by the way. So you can have project specific skills, personal skills, and team-wide skills. And a skill doing three things: deciding when to activate, defining how to execute, and standardizing the output. this documentation also gives some really solid advice. Keep skills focused on one job. This is, as you know, Unix philosophy. And clear in trigger conditions, explicit in steps, and minimal unless you need the scripts. So again, this is about moving logic out of the prompts and into moving into reusable systems. Once you start thinking this way, you stop repeating yourselves. And if we move to the GitHub here, github.com OpenAI skills, we can see how professional skills works. Let's find a good example. Yeah, we can use security best practices because it's important for everyone. Skills.md. Okay. Now it's full screen. Okay, this is a real example from the official OpenAI skills repository. Security best practices. Yeah, this is a YAML file, and here name, security best practices, and description. The most important part is here, description. It defines how to trigger this skill. It says trigger only when the user explicitly requests security best practices guidance, a security review report, or secure by default coding help. Trigger only for supported languages: Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, and Golang. And don't trigger for general code review, debugging, or non-security tasks. This is so important. And even more importantly, when not to trigger. So what you are seeing here is not just a documentation in this description. This is behavior gating. You are literally telling the agent only become a security expert under these conditions. So it will not work on, for example, Perl or PHP. And the workflow. This is where things get interesting. The agent is instructed to first detect all languages and all frameworks. And both front end and back end. Then it's loading security guidelines. And there's a decision tree. Yeah, the skill doesn't contain all knowledge itself. It knows how to find the right knowledge. Here overrides report format. And the skill actually defines 3 different operating modes. Write secure code from the start, detect vulnerabilities while working, and generate full security report if asked. If the user asks for a report, the agent doesn't just explain explain things casually. It generates a structured markdown report here with severity levels and numbered findings, impact statements here, and even file and line references. Here, make sure to find and include line numbers, code you are referencing. And fixes. This is also important. When fixing issues, it explicitly tells the agent, don't break the system. Focus on fixing a single finding at a time. Avoid regressions. And general security advice. Yeah, and once you realize that, you stop writing prompts, because you cannot write this length of prompt every time for every prompt. And after that, we can make a small example on Python using this security best practices skill. Let's go. Hello, here we have a simple Python sample. This code block retrieves the current Bitcoin price as a euro currency. Hope you can see on the screen. This is a very basic Python code. It's just using requests and retrieve the Bitcoin price. There's no formatting, no any security or user improvements. And it's working, returning the value as integer. This code is work. But there is, as you can see, there is no validation, there is no any security side improvements, and we will check it with Codex. First, we need to trust the folder, and we have just one file in the folder. If we write /skill, we will get the skills menu, and we can list skills, enable, disable them. I'm going to choose lists, and I will install skills from the OpenAI skills. It's running skill installer. Stop comment. Would you like to run the following command? Yes, proceed. It's running a Python list skills application. Yeah, as you can see, the list is the same as on GitHub. We have ASP.NET Core, security best practices. Yeah, we just need security best practices for this little example. I'm going to choose yes, proceed again. It's retrieving the skill MD, but it's installed under the .codex skills security best practices, directly installed in the codex folder, not the current project folder. And we can enable and disable them from skills menu. Yeah, this is the code, just 10 lines. Importing request, just one function, get price. Now review this code for security best practices. This is just a single prompt. And it will check the skill list, and if the description match with current project, it will continue from that skill. Because it's Python project and we ask for security best practices. Yeah, as you can see, it's using security best practices right now. Already found two items. One is medium and the other is low severe. Medium is outbound HTTP call has no timeout, so the process can hang indefinitely on a slower stalled upstream. Yeah, this is common issue with the HTTP calls. If you don't put a timeout, you can wait forever. And the other one, yeah, related to JSON validation. In our code, we had no validation for the JSON, but of course it's just a basic validation. And I ask for generate a security report because this skill has that function. It will create a report as an MD file. Yeah, we have a detailed summary here. And it's asking for writing. I will say yes, proceed, write to a file. Okay, it's written. Security best practices. And I will say fix the critical issues. Until this point, it didn't change anything, but now it will change the code. Yeah, now now timeout as 5 milliseconds edit, and the other change is JSON validation. Now we are checking if not is instance Bitcoin ticked or euro not in the Bitcoin. We are raising value error. Of course, this is very basic code, but you you got the idea how skill MD works. And you can apply this thing for other skills as well. And for every edition from now on, uh, it can check security best practices, because this is the Python code, and it will use this SkillMD. That was a small demonstration of SkillMD in action. You will find similar concepts on the Gemini side as well, just implemented a little bit differently. If this kind of content is useful to you, subscribe and like the video. That's the best way to support my channel. See you next time. Bye.